call this meeting to order of the school board on July 27th in a virtual format. Before the land acknowledgement, I just want to note thanks for the flexibility of the board and understanding of the community for a virtual format. We have a couple board members traveling. I personally am on the road for my day job this week, and so appreciate the accommodation to shift to a virtual format for this meeting. So with that, I will, Slade, turn it over to you for the land acknowledgement.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for attending as well. If you're either watching us via live stream or if you have joined the webinar. Tonight, I humbly make a land acknowledgement. I would like to recognize and acknowledge the indigenous people of this land, the Puyallup Tribe of Indians. They were forcibly relocated onto reservation lands in what is today Tacoma, Washington, in late 1854 after signing the Treaty of Medicine Creek with the United States. Today, they have enrolled population of 4,000, of whom 2,500 live on the reservation. At this meeting, we pay respect to the Puyallup Tribe of Indians and to their elders past, present, and emerging.
Thank you, Slade, and welcome, Toby. Thanks for calling in. With that, we will move to public comment. I don't believe there were any signups for public comment. Is that accurate, Slade?
That's accurate.
Okay, so we will move to the superintendent report.
Great. If I will ask Peter to go ahead and click, we'll start off by welcoming Alyssa Gerards to the meeting. She is our location manager for First Student, and we received this after school was out. But I'm going to turn essentially it over to Alyssa. She can tell us more about what this letter of achievement means to the district, what it means to First Student. And I just want to, before I turn over her, just to say that, we have pretty much a weekly meeting, Alyssa and I, the board may not know that. And, that's kind of just to make sure the operations and management of our transportation is running smoothly. Oftentimes we have to bring in principals and Peter to work through ferry systems, bell schedules, late arrivals, bus stops, locations, you name it. But, Alyssa handles, I will just tell you this, 99.9% of our transportation, and with very little, needing support from anyone in the district. She's just been fantastic, as well as just First Student management above her. And so after giving you accolade after accolade list, I'm going to turn it over to you to tell us about one more accolade that First Student has received here from OSPI and the Washington State Patrol. Thanks for joining us. You're still on mute, Alyssa. Sorry.
Sorry. Thank you, Slade. So this letter is recognizing First Student and essentially our technician for the maintenance and upkeep of our school buses. Each year they do a random check of our buses in the springtime, and they do a 100% fleet audit in the winter. It's actually been more than 2 years, but for the past 2 years on record, we've gotten 100% passing, which means that there have been no major deficiencies found with the buses at all. We've had small things like the colors of the camera were wrong, but nothing major. So this letter of achievement is reflects on our technicians and our procedures and upkeep of all the buses. Make sure that everyone's traveling safely.
Thanks, Alyssa. Again, once I remember when we were in in the middle of the pandemic, bus drivers, we considered them essential workers, and the first adults that our students see, in a regular way on a daily basis. And so, but it all starts actually even before drivers get in their buses. It starts, like you said, in the maintenance yard with your technician, and then with the cooperation of the drivers and the leadership that you provide, as well as Brianne. So any questions from the board? If not, let me just open it up. Any questions or comments from the board?
I just want to thank her because we use it with my daughters, or with my daughter, actually, the oldest. And it's always really on time, and the great, and the drivers are really respectful. And when something happens, we have been able to address it, and they change or they do something that helps the students and the family. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Alyssa. And
I think Toby wanted to say something before.
oh,
Toby,
great.
did you?
Oh, I was just saying thanks, Alyssa, for joining us tonight and for that report. I was chuckling to myself that in sort of popular media, lunchroom staff and school bus drivers often get joked on, but in our district, they're as important as everyone else. They meet the students in the morning, they drop the students off in the afternoon, and we've had a really great relationship with First Student and the leadership, and want to thank you and pass on thanks to the technicians as well.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Mariel, for letting me know Toby wanted in, and I'll continue with my superintendent's report. Just want to remind everybody in the public, we sent this out via Facebook and via Parent Square, but we have a primary for the November election where we have 4 candidates. Pamphlets were sent out, and I just want to remind everybody to get out the vote. And voting is very important, and ballots are due August 1st. The ballot return box, there's one conveniently located at the library, and so just want to encourage everybody. And I've seen that message repeated in lots of places on the island, so I'm hoping for a very big turnout. I also want to thank Voice of Vashon and Amy Dreyer from Community Council, who's also Chamber of Commerce, who were able to lead the candidate forum last week. I tuned in and it was very helpful, and I hope it was helpful for our community as well.
Hey, Slade, I'm sure that if that's recorded, would you send a link to it? I'm sure it's been circulated, but I'd like to go back and watch that.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. I can get that link. Let me make a note. Hey, just want to also just kind of bring the board up to speed. After the primary, I'm going to be sending out a survey for all current board members and then those who are on the ballot to see if they are able and available to attend the VISD annual conference, which is coming up in November. And so I'll be able to answer any questions, and I'm typically our student board representatives go, and Zabet has attended with me. I'm hoping and encouraging all potential board members and current board members, so we can get as many to attend as possible at the conference. They have a great board orientation session the day before the conference that would be super helpful if someone has either has experience in the board, being a board member, or is brand new to a school board. And WASDA, our Washington State School Directors Association, supports that. And I was on the phone with Tim Garshow, the executive director for WASDA, and he let us know that if the board passes a resolution, which I'll be drawing up, there's some sample language presenting at the next board meeting for first read. If the board adopts a resolution, we can actually budget for candidates to attend this conference before they're sworn in December. And so there is a technical way in which we can do that. And I can certainly answer more questions once I bring the resolution to you. But I just wanted to give the board, and if there's any potential board members, I think there might be on the webinar tonight, that they, after our August 1st primary, they'll be receiving a form, a Google form requesting just their feedback, whether they'd be able to attend the conference and or the board training session.
Slade, can I just add a little bit of sequencing context there?
Yes.
Right. So the elections, the primary election obviously is in August. The general election is the second or first Tuesday in November. Those results are not certified until the end of November, and new board members are not sworn in until December. Right. However, the WASDA conference falls in those weeks between
Right.
the election and when new board members are sworn in, or technically certified. So I just want to give that context of sort of the sequencing of events and why the resolution is necessary to have they're elected and they're apparent winner, but not yet certified prospective board members attend. It would be those who were successful in their election seat, but they wouldn't yet be certified. So I wanted to provide a little bit of context there as the sequencing and why that resolution is necessary.
Thanks, Allison. Marielle.
For board members who are not running and whose terms are essentially up, when the new board members are sworn in, would there be any value in participating, and what would that be?
I would not see value right up front. I think the value would be on the incoming board members, and it's an opportunity for the board to come together as a new team and work on that board relationship and that superintendent board relationship. So typically it is an outgoing board members who attend that board boot camp in that kind of that third week of November. Okay, and then any other questions about the WASDA? Thanks, Allison. Thanks, Mario, for the question. Great. Then just a few upcoming events. Our credit retrieval and summer support starts next week, and that will run for 3 weeks. We have Callan, who is maybe known to some of you, who's running that. She ran it last year, and we're excited to have a number of students and more teachers this year supporting those students in both literature, ELA, and math, and a special session for also students to receive multilingual services. And so we'll see that in the next 3 weeks. Our administrative team returns next Wednesday and Thursday, but the whole team probably returns on Monday, but we'll see the admin retreat on Wednesday and Thursday, and it continues on Monday of next week, the following week on the 7th. Stephanie and I have met with Mutiu, which is a lot of fun working with him. He met with us for about an hour and 20 minutes a few days ago to help plan the admin retreat and to re-energize our kind of philosophies around trust and how we set goals for our schools and engage with our teacher leadership team and our school leadership team. So he'll be working with us on Wednesday, and I'm super excited to see that partnership continue. And then from then we have the annual commuter picnic, August 16th. And I'm going to send some of these dates out. As part of the priority plan, I know we're going to be discussing this, but we're going to send a calendar of potential, board attendance events once we get up and running. But August 16th is the commuter picnic, and then we'll have new staff orientation on the 17th. Our PLC leads come back on the 22nd, and then the 24th and 28th is when we ramp up our all staff start of school kickoff. And then and the 24th is also our regular board meeting. And then finally, the first day of school, it'll feel like a mad dash, but the first day of school will be August 30th, except for the kindergartners. Kindergartners start a couple days later. Toby.
Where's the commuter picnic going to be?
The commuter picnic is I always forget the name of the park. Peter, what's the name of that park? Right across
Lincoln Park, at, I forget what the shelter number is, but it's the one closest to the ferry dock.
Yeah.
Okay. If I'm available, I'd like to try to go to that, but yeah, if you send out these dates, that'll be great.
Yeah.
I think if we, as a board, if we can kind of divvy up and see if we get 1 or 2 people to some of these events, I think that could be significant.
Yeah. Lucia.
Maybe you said these, but at what time? I'm sorry.
The commuter picnic is at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. Okay, that's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thanks.
And on the 24th, which is the first day of the all-day kickoff, in the morning, 8:30 to 10 o'clock, I sent an email to everybody today, kind of putting that on your calendar. it is something that would be great if every board member would be able to attend that. We welcome new staff. We do the doors of opportunity. I have a guest speaker, maybe, who will be there. And we do the summer slideshow where our staff and board members too. I'm gonna prompt you guys to send any pictures of your summer travels. It's a lot of fun to present that slideshow at the beginning of the year, bring everybody together. So again, we'll make sure that we get a list of dates for board attendance out to you soon, and so that we can start that process of kind of re-engaging with the new school year. Okay, and if there is no more further questions, that's my board report for this evening.
Thanks, Slade. I don't see any other questions. We will move to board remarks. Toby, do you want to start while you have service?
Yeah, no, just thanks everyone for being flexible. I have 1 bar of service. I'm on vacation, and so I'm happy to be able to join today. Thanks for making that possible via remote. I'm excited about the start of school, believe it or not, and starting to feel energized, and that feeling that you get as August comes around the corner. So, but aside from that, I don't have any particular comments.
Thanks, Toby. Lucia?
Thank you for this kind of meeting. I also want to thank everyone who's coming back to work and kicking off. Thank you for Slade for making that event list that I'm excited to read. Everyone, I hope everyone had a great break and we are recharged from family and the sun and the good weather, and I'm just like Toby, excited to start again.
Thanks, Lucia. Marielle?
Although feels like the break is sort of winding down and activity is ramping up based on everything that Slade just shared and what people know of the August calendar. I think there'll still be some good opportunity to recharge, relax, and I hope everyone enjoys that. And then also as things ramp up, just excited that we're hitting the ground running. It's like things are really pulled together, and we're going into a great new school year coming up. Everyone, I'm looking forward to seeing you in person at the next meeting and some of these events.
Thanks, Marielle.
It's nice to see your kid tonight.
Just a couple notes. I would echo and ditto the get out the vote message. There's lots of elections on the ballot in our community, King County, across the state. So would echo that message. Thanks, Slade, for the overview there. And then the other thing I'll just touch base on is a reminder, as Zabet provided an update at the last board meeting, the end of June, the community work group led by Dove is on pause for the month of July. So there's no substantive updates there. And I just want to remind folks that that work is on pause and we'll pick back up as we sort of get closer to the start of school. So didn't want to feel like we were missing or skimming or skipping a topic, but wanted to remind folks that that group hasn't met since we had our last board meeting, and so there's no updates to share other than we'll pick back up in August. So with that, I think we can move into our
one thing, Allison, really quickly. Yeah. I also want to encourage everyone to vote, but I want to say this in Spanish. Si
Please.
Todos salir a votar, y si ustedes en caso que no puedan votar, pero tienen hijos que sean mayores de 18 años y puedan votar, por favor, animen a sus hijos a leer los candidatos, a aprender los candidatos y por favor votar. Thank you.
Gracias. Thank you, Lucia. That's great. Okay, so with that, I think we can move into the discussion phase, talking about our priorities, our board priorities, and our planning calendar. Just by a little bit of context and way of background, the board had a working retreat work session in June, because it was multi-age graduation day as well. And talked through, sort of looked at and reflected on where we were, where we'd been, and where we're going. And so Slade, thanks for putting this together and walking us through sort of what our first draft and first conversation of what our priorities as a board look like through the next year.
And so if you, Peter, you just want to scroll down, there's the two pages are, let's go ahead and keep going down. We'll get to kind of the meat of the board priorities. One of the things that, just to kind of remind everyone as well, this will be the second year of implementation of our strategic plan. And so the first 2 years are really about making sense. And so I think we had a great first year of making sense of the document. But as we move into year 2, there's some refinements. But I want to remind just the board and our public that there's the 3 groups that that establish priorities for the new year, and all those priorities are related to the strategic plan. We have schools that make their school improvement plan, and it looks very similar in terms of outlining goals related to the strategic plan. And then we have department leads and department chairs, department directors who also have developed department plans such as technology, human resources, food services. And so each of them have their own priority plans. And then the board at the top of the kind of the pyramid, or at the base, as you know, as it were, supporting everybody up, has their own board priorities and strategies for implementation. And so the board came together in the work session, and as they reviewed last year's and this year's, did not change any of the priorities in terms of fiscal solvency and sustainability, or increased student sense of belonging and student achievement, or high functioning board team. I think some of what happened in that conversation was more about refinements. And so you can see kind of board strategies there, and I'm not going to read through the list again. We did this in the retreat, and I know this has been available for folks to read in advance. But as we look at those 3 priorities, Peter, and you want to go to the second page, this is kind of where I feel like kind of where the accountability comes in, and where the board members can support each other and ask me, or provide me information on how to support them as well in meeting these vital signs and their annual goals. And so we know that we want to have a balanced budget. We know that we want within a 3 to 5% balance from budget to actual, meaning that we're budgeting and allowing for capacity to spend what we need to spend, but we're not essentially leaving a lot of money on the table that could have been spent in classrooms and with students and families. And so 3 to 5% of that $27+ million budget is where we want to see. And thankfully, due to the prior executive director of budget and finance, and then our current director, this has been always an annual target, but the board oversees that budget process and is continuing with that goal. This year, what is changing a little bit is the Cap Tech, and so we know a lot of funding comes from the community support, and so these propositions will be on the ballot. This particular proposition will be on the ballot in February of 2024, but the board will begin a work session in September to look at different Cap Tech projects and possibilities and tax rates and the impact of those tax rates, on the community. And we'll start to deliberate and begin to understand the impact of a new Cap Tech levy that will be happening in 2024 in February. It's a 4-year levy, so it happens every 4 years. The last one was 2020, and the one before that was 2016. And so, this is something that's on the calendar, and when we're doing it in 2020, we can't believe it, like it's 4 years away. But then, magically through the pandemic and years pass and fly by, here we are again planning for the Cap Tech levy funding. And then priority number 2 in terms of, is really focused on our strategic plan in terms of academic achievement and social emotional learning. And so we'll see those goals represented in school improvement plans. And those plans will be presented to the board early in the year, updates given in the middle of the year, and then at the end of the year, we'll come back and kind of see where we are with those school improvement plans. And so that's really kind of the strategic plan focus one. And then priority 3 is really where most of the conversation happened in the retreat around a high functioning board team and board engagement. And one of the things that we've gotten feedback from, and I think Allison has received, different members of the board have received different levels of feedback around board engagement and either attendance, to events in the community and or attendance. And actually, Peter, I have a revised one. I was talking with Lucia and I was talking with Allison. So I have a revised one, but I won't pull it up. But there was this, Lucia and I were talking about, and she was explaining to me, the importance of board members, not only at, things like basketball games and track meets, but, where can the board plug into, either the community council or to the Chamber of Commerce or other places where, where we may not have seen the board presence in the past. And so, along with the kind of the annual self-assessment, we also are going to be scheduling with the board a number of communications to the stakeholders, on the priority issues, and to also give our stakeholders updates. And something that actually has been happening recently, I'm glad Allison brought up the work group. That's something that Allison and Zabet have taken the lead on, and I think done a great job with Heidi in terms of communicating out to the district what's kind of what's happening, where we are with the situation, and some of those next steps moving forward. And so we just want to increase the frequency of those communications and that engagement. And that really kind of recaps some of the conversation and some of the small revisions that we're making on that the board has chosen to make on the board priorities. And so, if there's any further discussion, this is the moment after we come together today. We're going to begin to post it. These are all working drafts, school improvement plans, department plans, board priority plans. They're always a working draft. It's always a work in progress. And so they don't often change too much during the year. But we are going to be posting the board priority plans and the department priority plans in our strategic planning website, along with new scorecards coming up. And so I always want to make sure before we post things that the board has ample discussion, time for discussion, and anything that they want to see changed on it, or that they feel would be an appropriate revision or edit. So I'll kind of turn it over to you, Allison, or Lucia, or Marielle, or Toby.
Yeah, I think we open it up for discussion at this point. I'll just say, I think these reflect the conversation we had in the work session, and I think reflect some of the areas for the board to focus on. The one thing, not to sort of revise on the fly, but the one thing I'll note that I think needs to be added somewhere, and perhaps it's under priority 3, and it may be a subset of priority 3, that first one, recognizing that we will have, I can't do math, but 3 new board members joining in December. Something about and myself, I'm fairly new, Lucia's fairly new. We are a pretty new board and we'll be a new team. Something about continued education, continued learning and knowledge building around, board function, board roles, the district, etc. So I want to call that out. I think it's this continuous thing. I think we talked a little bit about it in the work session, and I don't see it reflected here. So would like to make sure that gets called out somewhere. I think it's in priority 3.
Yeah.
Lucia, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm excited about, working and cooperating with other committees, things that are already existing, like the representation for parents, the representation for teachers. I understand the union is one of kind of representation, but I would like to see it, and I call it like the skeleton of the teachers, but I don't want to. I would like to see the staff, not the teachers, not the para, not the administrative, like the soul of the staff of our school, and the school board being part of that too, like maybe 2 of us. So I think there's a lot of possibilities and a lot of work to do, and time to organize ourselves, not just the new board members, but also the school itself. In the committees, I'm very interested in other kind of committees that I don't have it right now in front of me, the name of all these committees, but I think it's important to keep working on that.
I wonder if that's, I agree. And I wonder if that's sort of taking it back to the priorities and capturing that, Lucia, if it's a sort of friendly wordsmith of priority 3, line 3, column cell 2, board members attendant at school and community events, committees and meetings, just sort of encompassing not just events, not just, basketball games and Strawberry Festival, but budget committee hearings, the foundation, etc.
Right. Yes. I had a good conversation with Slade about this, and yeah, one thing is the social, but another part is the work that the school needs, and I think we can keep working on both.
Yeah, thank you. Marielle, I'm wondering if you have any.
Yeah, I noticed under priority 2, the vital signs are really pretty specific: math and ELA achievement, graduation rate, and then the last one, supportive learning environment, belonging, and identity. Kind of less specific, but one thing that we might name there is, and if not name it here, then I think I'm just saying it out loud because this could live somewhere here, or at least in our hearts, which is the regularly returning to the equity policy, and reviewing it as a board, and reviewing where things stand. And if that could be, because I think the policy doesn't name a frequency, or specifically what at this formal time there will be an event or a kind of dedicated board meeting or work session attention to it. But I know that we touch on it. Slate has given us some updates along the way, and I'm just wondering if naming a frequency, or at least kind of claiming at least quarterly evaluation of performance around equity priorities as stated in the policy, and an annual, or I think it already stated a biannual review, right? Okay, I have to review the policy to remember.
Yeah, I wonder,
I want it to come up here somehow.
Yeah, I appreciate you naming that, Marielle, and I wonder I think it should be named. I think it should be called out, and I do wonder if it sort of sits in priority 3 around right, high functioning board is somehow connected to the learning objective, right? Continuous learning and review of implementation of adherence to plans related to equity policy. I can't wordsmith on the fly, but I think there's something there if it lives sort of. I think we need to add something to 3 anyway about continuous learning, deepening skills, deepening knowledge. And I think we could get specific and call that out, Marielle, as a subset of strategy specific to that around frequent or annual review or biannual review of implementation of the equity plans and the school-based equity plans and learning. And then I think there's some opportunity to review and contemplate the policy in relationship to our sort of annual look at the data, the academic data as mentioned in priority group 2 as well. I think it should live in that conversation also, but I think naming it specifically makes sense in the high functioning board space.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes sense, and I can do those revisions and then send them back out.
Great. And I want to make sure, given Toby and Yvette aren't here and they'll be with us for 4 more months of the board, that they have an opportunity to look at those revisions too, Slade. So thanks for doing that.
Toby, you have your hand raised?
Oh,
Yeah,
is Toby back?
hopefully,
Oh, sorry,
yeah,
Toby.
hopefully you can hear me.
Up.
I keep bouncing in and out. I just wanted to comment that I've seen this evolution over the last 8 years of studying board priorities, and it's so awesome to see how they're succinct. There's metrics that we can track that are aligned with our building plans, and everything's ready to flow and connect. And then your eagerness to make these publicly available and are really easy to digest, easy to find, as well as connect with the other strategy documents, I think is really great for transparency purposes. So I like seeing how this is all fitting together. Thank you.
Yeah, it is quite a departure from when my first year. So I appreciate that you recognize that, and it's I like it as well. So thank you.
Speaking of easy to find, where is the draft available somewhere besides board docs? And will the final be? Where will the final live?
The final will live on the strategic planning page, where we have kind of all the building plans, and then where we'll be adding the department priority plans, as well as the scorecards.
Got it. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Slade, and all for contributing and making tweaks and adjustments to the foundations there. And I think the next piece of our discussion phase is our planning calendar for the school year, which is right around the corner.
Absolutely. And so my goal with presenting the school calendar to the board, typically we try to do this during the work session, but as everything, we overplan the work session, and this has been, this kind of gets left off. And so I'm using kind of this time in July to present an overview of next year, and what each month looks like. When Peter and I, these calendars get transferred year to year, so we build them over because there is a logical sequencing to events that happens during the year, with the school board, such as opening the school year, right? That typically happens at a certain point in time of the year. The budget happens at a certain point in time of the year. CapTech, levies and bonds, and so this is really the guiding document that the board chair Peter and I use. It's available to all the board, but I would like to just go through, present some of the months. Again, I'm not going to read everything. I'm just going to Peter and I are going to scroll through. But it gives you not yet, Peter, but it just gives everybody with the idea on the dates on the left are work session planning times and regular board meetings. We'll see some months that have holidays in them or breaks where we won't have a work session. We'll just have a regular board meeting. And this is a place where Marielle, when she was speaking, that we would be inserting and kind of, not only from that board priority plan, but this is where we would be putting like review of the board equity policy, right? This is the plan of the plan. And so I'm going to be going back, once I go back in from the priority plan, go back into this board planning calendar and insert some of those key dates. And we can even begin to kind of populate to the right-hand side, board school site visits, school leadership team meetings, things of that nature as well, that we could see as opportunities for the board to engage. And so this tool just becomes better and better every year. It started with Jody and I, and so I'll just give a shout out to Jody, and then Peter's, we've just been carrying it on the tradition. So as I spoke before, September 4th, in September, we're going to see a work session on CapTech levy planning, and Kim, who I know is attending tonight, will be meeting with John Stanton, Kevin Dickerson, and I in the next few weeks, and we're going to be coming together and start that initial plan. There's a timeline that we have, and so we'll be putting those into motion. And then at the regular board meeting, we'll have typically, once again, every month we have an admin come from one of the buildings to share things that are happening in their building. I'd like to see more students come to our board meetings. And so in September, if you scroll down a little bit, Peter, wait a minute. I think what's happened is that I loaded some things. I made some edits. So in the discussion, I should have revised it, Peter. My apologies. So in September's board meeting, I'm going to be inviting the green teams from the schools. And so each school, elementary, middle, and the high school have green teams, reduce, reuse, recycle. And the middle school also, typically during the year, sometimes King County recognizes our building teams and they get awards. And similar to First Student, I got a green team, I got a notice from King County that our middle school green team won an award, won an award this year. And so, but I want to spotlight all the green teams and bring all those kids in so that they can share kind of what they do and their purpose and who supports them in the building as well. So, but we'll see, some WASDA conference planning. And again, it's our goal by that September 28th that we'll have a draft of the resolution and some proposals in front of the board in terms of what kinds of projects that they can expect to see in that CapTech levy, and then vis-a-vis our public will have first views of that as well. And I'll be sharing the timeline for that CapTech levy during the work session. So you'll see a list of all the important key election dates, as well as where the community will be engaging in that kind of fact finding and board engagement piece. So, and then go ahead and scroll down. We'll just hop into that month of October. And this is where this year I felt went really well. We're going to repeat where the building principals will come in and share their school improvement plan data with board members. And then we'll kind of take a look at October 26th board meeting, which is where we see an end of the year report for the previous fiscal year. And this is where we get to learn, how well we budgeted last year to actual, and Kim will be presenting, that as well as the facilities update from the director. And the decision, and this is actually on par with our last CapTech levy decision at the end of October is when the board, had a second read and took action on that last CapTech levy resolution. So we'll be doing the same thing this October. November, we'll see then the work session will be priority plan, the program priority plans. And so that's where department directors will come in and give updates on their annual review with the school board on their priority plans. And kind of repeating a series of building recognition, and board members will be attending board site visits, typically the Tuesday prior to the board meeting, to have fresh eyes on what's happening in the building. And so I anticipate a board report along with the principal, that same principal, at that meeting. In November, we do CTE progress monitoring, and Catherine Coleman does the Director of Special Services report. So there's kind of cadence of our different programs and the directors coming in to give their annual reports. Marielle, yeah.
Same question about the WASDA conference, but regarding board site visits in November. I mean, school visits, board site visits of the schools.
So what's the quick question?
Should outgoing board members go?
Absolutely. I think it's great to see. I think outgoing board members, the more time that our staff can kind of get a better connection with either outgoing and incoming, even potential incoming, even if there's a board candidate and they would like to come in and visit schools. I hadn't thought about that option before, but I think that would be a great option as well. So absolutely. I think it's a great idea. And then in December, just a reminder that the kind of part of my superintendent evaluation process, that's essentially my mid-year. A lot of folks maybe not understand the cadence, but my contract starts July 1st, and so December is kind of the opportune time for the board to give feedback and on my performance and progress towards my annual goals in that December executive session. And sometimes we schedule that before the meeting, the regular board meeting. Sometimes we schedule that as a standalone. We'll just have to see. And so, there's in December 7th, there's a board work session where we, I think, go back into our board priority plans and do kind of a mid-year check-in on, kind of things that need to be tweaked or, what's happening with school improvement plans. It's kind of the board chair and I will take our cues from board feedback in terms of what we should be doing in that December 7th work session. And then continue to scroll down, Peter. I know we're flying through this, but I think it's just good to get it, that kind of global view of what happens in a school year. And I know a couple board
I have
members.
a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry interrupting you. The new members are coming in December.
Right, they get sworn in December.
Do you know when?
December 14th.
December 14th. Okay. And then your review is around before December 14th, I'm hoping.
Before December 14th.
Okay. I'm just making sense because it doesn't make sense.
And Lucia, it wouldn't surprise me if there's 5 things in here that we all don't see right now that for whatever reason don't make sense. But picking them out like that is great.
But I think that if I can interject 1 sec, I think the undertone, Lucia, of your question, if I may, is it is this board, this existing board that will have worked with Slade during the 6-month period that will be doing that eval and review. So the feedback from this board.
Yeah, right. Like I just feel that that's just fair and right? Just accurate.
Yes. Yeah. Right, and so that's also when we do board reorganization, and so that's where we the board will decide upon those leadership positions in the board, and as well as the ledge rep, and there's 4. We modified that policy last year, so it's those kind of key roles. And then we have PI usually comes during the month of December and presents their grants and their total fundraising, for the beginning of the year. It's exciting for them to come. And then we have Amy brings her EEOC report. Amy, I know you're still here. What's the EEOC mean again? I forget.
Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. And it's essentially a diversity report of staff.
Got it. And then we have some annual assessment reports coming from Stephanie, and a report on multilingual services, and then the IMC report. So that's a big night for her. And if you remember, from last year, again, there's kind of a regular cadence to inform the board so the board can provide oversight of these programs. And then that one also, we start legislative conference planning. And so we start queuing up for that new legislative session, and and kind of starting to organize our lobbying efforts and our own legislative priorities and how they align with either the ESDs or WASAs, et cetera. So, and then scrolling on down, believe it or not, we're almost halfway through the year, and then at the next January meeting, this is where I anticipate an onboarding, work session where we will probably either invite someone from WASD or someone from the ESD to come and either extend the learning that happened perhaps at the annual conference, into or extended into January. But it's an opportune time for the new board to come together and work on and learn more about board governance, the board superintendent relationship, the roles, review protocols, kind of all of that. And so most likely that'll happen at that January 11th work session. And then moving into January, again, kind of more cadence with more reports. Oh, I see we have the EEOC report twice, so we'll delete that. And then the budget planning process starts, right? And so that's where we start having the budget calendar presented, and then we'll see in the ensuing months similar presentations from those pieces in the budget.
I might suggest, only because I will forget if I don't say it out loud, so let me interrupt you. I might suggest that we use the December work session for some budget discussion, right? I know the onboarding happens, right? Our new members aren't certified yet. They're not sworn in yet. I'm sorry, they're not sworn in, but I think it would be helpful to do a work session earlier in the process, ideally December, on the budget. Slade, you and I can sort of talk about then potentially what needs to fall off or how we fit that in. But I feel anxious that we don't have sort of that informal work session in advance of it being in a formal agenda. And I have really appreciated that cadence this year of sort of a more a work session time to dig into the nuts and bolts. So I would encourage us to think about that for December.
Okay, yeah,
So
absolutely.
would the elected members be allowed to join the work session on the
I
7th?
mean, work sessions are open to the public, right? And so I think if I reflect on the work sessions we had the last couple of this last fall, where building admins came and there were community members that sort of joined when we broke into pods, they sort of joined the pods. And I think we could do what works for us, Marielle. But that would be my intention with those who have been elected and will be sworn in like in the next week or so. That would be an also opportunity for them to come and ask questions and be part of that conversation. That would absolutely be, I think, the intention of being able to do it that way. Just more time to think about it and absorb it, before the holidays, so it's not sort of so fast come January.
Yeah.
Because the budget process starts right in January, and we'll have a whole new set of members.
Yeah, we actually talked about this before. I think we mentioned that we needed like a budget 101 for us and for the community. So probably that's a good opportunity.
Yeah. And those sessions are also available at the WISD conference as well. And I do believe that budget piece is part of that board training the day before the conference. So
that's great. Yeah,
absolutely. Good note, Allison. And then kind of moving into February. Again, kind of it says board prep strategic planning roadmap. That's a work session that we can probably just take a look at and see what might be necessary. That might be an extra budget session. We just, we don't know yet. And then kind of a similar cadence again with the February board meeting with board with admin coming in. This is where we start talking about enrollment estimates and when we start identifying kind of are there any singular board priorities that we want to see represented in the budget. Counseling and mental health services. So go ahead and scroll down, Peter. Let's keep going. And then in March, more budget. That's where, kind of again, where we just continue to tackle the budget. And then we start taking a look at staffing a little more closely in March as well. And then in April, keep scrolling, Peter. And then in April, continuing to look at personnel and staffing and fees. And at this point in time, we're kind of in the middle of the session or coming to the close of the session, or hopefully the close, the legislative session, and we start looking towards, that BEA allocation and different state and federal allocations as well. So I'm gonna scroll down, and then again, more budget. And then retirements. It feels like now we're at the end of the school year where we just were. So we're coming back around. And then we'll be kind of in that cycle of inquiry where, in May, June, we'll be taking a look back and at the same time taking a look forward at what 24-25 will be looking like. So, okay, that was my, kind of big view of the school year. I hope that was helpful for the board. And I know maybe those who were attending tonight who are potential candidates, they can kind of get an idea about, that kind of how the operations and management of the school district look like, throughout the year, how the board meetings are organized.
Great. Thank you, Slade. And with that, my child has now completed 2nd grade in that 15 minutes. So
Really?
we're already done with next year. It's crazy. No, appreciate the overview. I appreciate some fluidity in the work session space. I think we're going to need some flexibility and fluidity,
right?
January, February, March, in trying to understand how we can most support, a new board forming and learning about the various parts of the budget and other parts of the district to help inform that conversation, decision making. So appreciate that there's a goal, there's an outline, but we've got opportunity and space to fill in some of the details, most of the details at this point. So with that, we will move to a decision. So this is a second read on a topic that we discussed at the last meeting related to joining potentially our district joining with other districts in some litigation around social media. Just by way of background quickly, if I can, Slade, and then I'll turn it over to you.
Sure.
The district was approached, like many other districts, to consider joining this. We discussed at the last meeting and opted not to pass implement a policy that would have allowed us to take action on first read. So it is now back for second read. And so Slade, can you refresh our memory exactly and for us and the public, the content and context of the litigation before we take action?
Yeah, absolutely. So just in brief, the lawsuit that districts are engaging in allege that social media companies, related to their social media platforms are substantially contributing to the mental health crisis that we see in America's youth and that we do see, here on Vashon. And so in the alleged, in the lawsuit, we believe that the social media, the defendants, have made choices to target youth to maximize the time they spend on social media platforms, that they design algorithms to feed our students harmful content, videos promoting eating disorders, violence, self-harm, suicide, etc. And so, the defendants in terms of Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, the mass action that we would join in would put us in a position to recoup or damages or an award that we would then be able to use to provide supports for our youth, such as extra counseling services or curriculum or potential money that we could provide for outside providers and services in order to stem the tide of this mental health crisis in our schools. We see tonight that background note and then two examples from two different law firms. I'll be recommending that we use Keller Rohrbach LLP as they take a smaller contingency fee. And Peter, after the last board meeting, did follow up with the agencies in terms of timing wise, and we are going to be just fine if the board just takes action and decides to join a mass action suit. And so the next steps if the board approves moving forward with this mass action suit would be for me to work more deeply with that law firm and draw up a contract in which we would then it would then be on the next board meeting's consent agenda.
Thanks, Slade. I am going to pause and see if there are questions before I call for a motion or comments.
How many school districts are being reached out to? Is this nationwide?
I don't know if it's nationwide, but I know that statewide, all 295 school districts have been reached out to, and I believe it's around 120 right now that have started the process of this work of filing in that mass action.
And which is the forum that it'll be filed in, or that it's been filed in?
It's going to be filed in I believe, the district court in San Francisco.
So federal court.
Federal court.
Federal court? Yeah.
Okay, so Washington school districts and the federal court in San Francisco.
Correct.
And no other states that we know of?
Yes, I know there's other states. I just don't know.
Oh, okay, got it.
I just can't confirm, give you the specifics.
What due diligence have we had the time to do now regarding the experience of this firm with this type of action?
Yeah, so I think you just threw me. Are you throwing me the softball? So yeah,
I want to know, what more do we know now?
Yeah, I think it's appropriate. I think it's definitely appropriate. And so kind of I shared with you earlier that the district, it might have been 2 years ago, might have been even a little bit longer than that, probably was a little bit longer than that, where districts in our state joined in a similar action against Juul, the vaping company. And we saw, at the beginning of that time, I was fairly uncertain about the impacts on the school district in terms of amount of resources that would be necessary to provide materials for that lawsuit. It would require an extra staff member to be part of that. And so I was hesitant and didn't make that recommendation to the board at the time. Since then, after lots of conversation in superintendent meetings in the region, and seeing now awards, coming out to districts like Bothell and Seattle, where they're receiving some resources now that they're be able to put into play to reduce and prevent vaping, in terms of counseling resources and referral and prevention and deferment activities. And so, after kind of in hindsight now seeing the benefits of that litigation and the relationship, that the weight that those districts brought to bear against Juul, I feel like this is going to be a very positive, action that we can take as a school district, and just bringing, again, kind of taking a look at how we bring resources in the district, not leaving any door closed, but also this is, for me, doing the right thing as well.
How much do you think we could get, like ballpark?
I have no idea.
I mean, I think it's an interesting idea. And I recall Allison's question and some further discussion that this is pretty kind of low stakes for us. It goes well, we get funds for important work. There's no award, we don't lose anything because there's no initial investment, and they also will not be, there should not be, in our understanding, transactional or extensive time costs for us in the duration of the suit. Do we know how long?
I don't have a timeline or ballpark on that either.
I think I would appreciate, and I know we can make a decision today, and if it's a go decision, I would appreciate it. If we can at least expect some responsiveness from the representatives, the legal representatives, regarding some questions like that. They must have given it some thought.
Sure.
I don't know if they've communicated that to some of the other, like the bigger districts that we're in communication with, and we could just ask them as co-parties, or if they would respond to your emails or calls. But I think being part of the suit is pretty significant. Like this is not a small deal. Vashon School District is in this kind of federal court case, among many others. But this is us, and it's an entanglement. It's a legal matter. So some of that basic information, or at least estimations from the legal representatives, who, also, if they're legit, I mean, are they the group that won the Juul case that we know?
Yes,
they were involved. Okay, that sounds pretty legit. Then they could hopefully provide that, and then you would have that on hand, just if something does come up, and as we can perhaps anticipate those benefits coming back to the district, and maybe some substantive transformation of the social media industry regarding targeting and improper youth, whatever operations they're doing that are harming our kids.
Thanks, Marielle. And I might add, sort of piggybacking on your last comment there, I feel like as a parent of a young child, it's often, I feel insufficient and helpless in how to sort of push back on corporation conglomerates like social media that have such a power. I mean, there's so much influence. And I think this is a way for the district to show support to parents. I mean, as a parent of a almost teenager, but a kid who's well down the YouTube rabbit hole often, there's real limited tools we have. And so to make statements and take action on large levels. And I think this is an opportunity for the district to stand on an issue that's really important. Mental health of our young kids is critical across our community, the state, the nation. And so I think it's important for us to be part of, and we'll be voting yes and supporting us being part of this, part of this lawsuit.
Also, I would like to know that as far as I know, it's not going to cost us anything unless we win. Then we'll split that win with the lawyers. So that's something that we can, think about, as if it was an impediment to do it, because we don't have the means, but we don't have to pay it up front.
Correct.
The
Yeah, I
last thing
think-
I'd recommend if we vote this through is regular updates, not per board meeting, but an update kind of along the way, just knowing that we are paying attention to what's going on. And that if there's anything flagged of concern kind of regarding what the motion, any of the content of the argumentation, or behaviors, even like procedural stuff, like if it's a red enough flag that it's been brought to your attention, that come to the board's attention.
Absolutely.
Okay, so with that, I will call for a motion. Is there a motion to approve the ask for Vashon Island School District to join this mass action social media lawsuit?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second that.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? With unanimous vote, motion carries. Sorry, a little clunky on Zoom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for that.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks for that discussion and taking that forward. With that, we will move to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve it.
Is there a second?
I second that.
All in favor, take yourself off mute and say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:07.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, everyone,
Thanks,
for
all.
joining us tonight.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
See you in August.
Bye.
Peter.
Thanks.